Hi everyone! So I'm back and I'm going to continue my ADL evaluations with a mental health one. Obviously there are a lot more than these four, but I'm going over the ones that I kind of came across in my notes a lot and needed to break down. So I have a little key on the top left corner for observation, interview, and self-report, and I marked them next to all the assessments on the left. So I'm going to go ahead and start with the kitchen task assessment, which is on the right. I studied this in a certain order, so I feel like I need to go over it in the same order to keep it the same. So that's just how my brain is working today. So bear with me. Kitchen task assessment is also called the KTA, and this one is testing your judgment, your planning ability, your organizational skills, all by having the client perform a kitchen task. And specifically for the KTA, you are having them make instant pudding. So drill this image of the KTA pudding bowl that I drew, because that is what they're going to be doing. So KTA pudding bowl, and I put a little spoon in it. So this one is observation based, and you can provide them assistance for success by giving them a little bit of help here and there. It also comes with a pre-test for washing hands, so that's also a component in there that I didn't write down, but that's something else that they look at also. And it helps develop intervention and adaptation strategies based on what you observe they have difficulty with. This can be used for adults and the elderly population, especially who have dementia and Alzheimer's. But it also has been expanded to use with individuals with cognitive dysfunction. And all three of those categories, you can definitely see how a kitchen task assessment would really come in handy, because you would be seeing these various cognitive components, executive functioning, that they would have to go through in order to make the instant pudding. So that one just makes sense to me. Just drill that KTA pudding image in your head. Next, I'm going to go down to Coleman Evaluation of Living Skills, which is also called the Kells. And this assessment determines the knowledge on basic living skills, 17 to be exact, and it covers a lot. It covers things like employment, leisure, and even money management. And this one does have standard instructions and standard questions for self-report. And basically, this checklist is going to summarize if the client's performance was considered I for independent. I just abbreviated it to make it easier to write, but independent, or needs A for assistance. So it's like a nice little checklist that's easy to look through. And the reason why I have a picture of a book is because I think of the Book of Kells when I think of Kells, and well, it's actually the Book of Kell. It's a really big library in Ireland, if anyone has heard of it, and it has just such a large collection of beautiful and old books. And when I think books, I think of Play It by the Book, and I think about how this one has standard instructions, so it's very straightforward. I don't know if that clicks for anyone, but that is how I remember it. And this one is used with adolescents and adults in the psychiatric hospital setting, and it can be used with older adults with various other diagnoses as well. So moving on to the top left, to the Milwaukee Evaluation of Daily Living Skills. This one is abbreviated to MEDALS. And this assessment is going to take place in an actual or a simulated location. So this performance is going to feel very real. And it's going to assess your basic living skills in that expected environment. And it can cover ADL as well as IADL. And this one will have a screening form to determine which subtest to use. So obviously someone who, depending on where you're going, you're not going to need certain performance tasks. Like if you are going to be living somewhere where people cook for you or you're provided meals, then you don't need to do cooking. So that's what the screening is for, just to narrow it down and make it more client-centered. And then it comes with standard directions and a time limit on the task completion. So this one is like time sensitive. So obviously, since it does take place in the expected environment, you do want to do your best to schedule this assessment during like a normal routine time. So obviously, if you're doing like self-care that's designated for in the morning, like brushing your teeth or something, then you're not going to want to do it like in the middle of the day with them. You're going to want to try to catch them in the morning. And that's just an example I came up like off the top of my head right now, but I'm sure you can think of many other things. And I drew a little medal here because MEDLS is just one letter shy of the word medal. And I think of medal because there's a time limit on this and it has standard instructions. So I think it's like you're given a very specific task and setting, and it's like, here's a time limit and you need to do it. And I think of like almost like a little competition that you can get a medal out of. And I think the name is really straightforward, that it's an evaluation of daily living skills, but I think medal and time limit, so hopefully that helps. This is used with adults who are 18 years and older with mental illness, and it did have some specifics. So if you have chronic mental illness, it's at least 2-year history of that, and they had to have lived at least 6 months in a psychiatric hospital, halfway house, group home, SNF, or they could also have participated in an outpatient day treatment program for at least 2 years. So that is a little specific, and lately it's been expanded to be used with ADL deficits as well. Last but not least, we have the test of grocery shopping skills, which is also abbreviated into, I guess, TOGS. This one I really like because it's really easy to figure out what it is based on the name. It's observation-based and self-report, and you're given a list of 10 items, and it just determines your ability to shop in a grocery store with that list. There are 2 grocery lists available, so it's easy to do a pre-test and a post-test to see how they're doing. And you're observing them complete this in a natural environment, and they need to find the lowest priced item also. You're also looking at a variety of things. So the score is based on the accuracy, the time, redundancy, like are you going into the same aisle multiple times? Or also like noting what kind of strategies they're using to go about this process, like how is their scanning, or just things like that. So they look at a lot of things, which means they can get a lot of information out of watching someone grocery shop, which I think is really true. So that makes sense that this is used with the population who may have serious mental illness, but it also can be used with people who have cognitive impairments. And that could be from a TBI, it could be for Parkinson's or a CVA, and also even dementia. So if any cognitive impairment is interfering with their community living skills, then this test of grocery shopping skills would be useful for that. One more thing to note is that this one does have a self-report component to it. It's considered a companion tool, and it's called the COGS, and I noted it right under the abbreviation for TOGS. It's just a self-report on their knowledge, hence the K, of grocery shopping skills, and that can be useful if it is applicable to them. And guess what? That's it. All 4 of them are done and here. If you have anything to add, feel free to leave a comment. Obviously, this is just me working through my own studying, so not trying to be like super professional about this, but I think the best way to learn is to teach other people. So that is what I'm doing, and I am very proud of my KTA pudding bowl. Yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed this, benefited from this, and I will keep recording myself teaching myself. Alrighty, take care.